Peace, y'all. Welcome to Meta Tripping. Um, this is a well, I'm aiming for it to be a quick video that focuses on harmonious resonance. We've a lot of people in this process, this metaphysical process, have different tools and methods for coming more firmly into alignment with that which is healthier for us, that kind of thing, in alignment with our paths. And there are lots of ideas, theories, methodologies, schools of thought, and what have you, that spiritual schools, spiritual paths, that have their own understandings and points to them. And we tend to resonate and gravitate towards what we require at any given time, right? Which is just, I think, a given that just about anyone who considers himself to be on a spiritual path kind of gets that, right? Like as a something we can all kind of agree on type of thing that we can align with as a foundational concept of understanding. But the whether it's a law of attraction path, however you want to look at it, when it comes to really getting into alignment with where we feel want or desire, that's had so many different approaches attached to it that I think it can get confusing sometimes when we're just looking for clarity or looking for the way that flows. And I know for me, I'm very eclectic by nature. I'll resonate with a little bit of this, resonate with a little bit of that, and it comes together and forms my own, understanding of things. And what I've definitely, with Spirit's help, I'm realizing, like, more and more that rather than having, like, personal shielding against lower vibes, or building that wall that everybody, even psychology, it comes up in psychology, the walls we build or whatever to keep what we perceive to be negative out. It can create an experience of feeling. It can create an experience of not necessarily feeling like we remember how to flow when it's time to flow and be receptive. And really, perhaps a lot of times, or all the time, it's time to flow and be receptive. You know what I'm saying? And if what's flowing through us in terms of the energies that we resonate with is high vibrational and in more of a divine alignment, more of a kind of spiritually healthy alignment, if you align more with that, what we're going to interface with is going to be of a similar nature. Not to say we won't find ourselves coming across a path of someone who's dealing with an imbalance, but how we deal with it and how we perceive it would be vastly different than how we would perceive it if we're walking about as empaths, like, oh, here come another person with some heavy energy and here I am of service again. You know what I'm saying? Where, yeah, it's in our heart to be of service, but maybe we just needed our space at that moment. And trying to remember to have our boundaries erected. And, okay, keep an eye on your boundaries. You got to keep boundaries. But you also have to be receptive. And you also have to be the support to others. But you also have to make sure you're being supported. And it's like, as with anything, too much of that can just feel like more rules and things to remember. Depending on how you're interfacing, with your spiritual understandings. But what I've come to, what kind of came to me tonight, was just this realization. It was speaking with Spirit, of course, that just being in a harmonious resonance invites more of that in. And it doesn't always have to come in the form of material abundance. It doesn't have to come in the form of people who just, like, really vibe with you. Doesn't have to come in the form of an intellectual conversation when you're in the mood for an intellectual conversation. It's whatever you require at that time, I think, that it's time for it to show up. And since you are willing to interface with things from a place of harmonious balance, you can enjoy a harmonious interaction with whatever shows up. So I just thought I would share, like for those who are having difficult times, um, with some of the releasing that's taking place, because we've been releasing a lot of toxicity, a lot of toxicity that doesn't belong to us, a lot of toxicity that um, our forebears and just the generations we came through, like that they had to deal with, and it's come upon those of us who've opted to be the ones to transmute it and release and create pathways that are higher vibrating for those to come and walk in resonance of those paths or similar paths, and be inspired as they walk their paths or what have you, or clear their pathways in the way that they see fit. You can utilize affirmations such as I allow myself to connect with others in harmonious resonance, and make it simple instead of having to specify, well, making a list of the types of things that you would like in, whether you're looking for, a mate, or you're just looking for a lover, or you're looking for a companion, or you're looking for the ideal job, or you're looking for, however it aligns, whatever it is you're feeling is missing in your equation at this moment or hasn't manifested yet. Instead of going so hard body on the specifications, if you can just state that you allow harmonious resonance with that which you connect with, you're giving permission for what shows up to be harmonious with you. And it's I think a different level of understanding, and there could be some tears, there could be some blockages that come up where you realize where you've been hurt in the past, and why perhaps the idea of putting yourself out there in a certain kind of way might be so scary to a part of you. But this is where you can take that time with your inner child, and maybe go for a walk and connect with earth, because even just a simple walk, earth's energies are so amazing right now. Like, and that may not even be the right word, but just like, or perhaps it have been amazing, but when you take the time to really connect, like the ability for things to be transmuted, because the vibrations are so high, and to realize like we're all supporting each other in some kind of way. We're all holding the position that we came here to hold, work through, whatever have you. You know what I'm saying? And the next person, where they shine and what they do, they're holding that position. And if we can just come into, however long it takes, in whatever, amount of degrees it's going to take to get there, if we can come into more of an alignment of realizing like it's not all on just any one person. It's not all on me. It's not all on you. It's not all on the next person. Or you might have a family member who's like the matriarch or the patriarch, and it's like so much is put on that person, and it's not all on them to have to hold up the sky, so to speak. You know what I mean? It's realizing we all have varying levels of importance, and specialty areas and unique traits and qualities, and depending upon what we may have to offer at any given time is how we connect. And if we're willing to be receptive, I feel like the pathways will align, and Spirit is saying they will, in a way that's in harmony with our schedules, or in harmony with what the amount of energy or fuel we have to give at any given moment. Even if you've been that person, that is the ear in the family. Like, every time somebody got something going wrong, they come to you, or perfect strangers come to you and tell you their life story. You know what I'm saying? Because they know you won't. I feel it's like they know you won't judge. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've had that happen a lot, where perfect strangers just started telling me like everything. You know what I'm saying? And I genuinely care, so I would listen. They needed somebody to listen to them at that moment, and I never really understood why that happened to me. Nor did I look at it so much like it was a funny thing. It just felt natural. But I realize now, after having observed things socially and whatnot, it's not exactly natural, especially for well, it is natural, but it's not exactly commonplace, is I guess what I'm trying to say. But if you carry a certain resonance to you because you really care, and you feel you're highly sensitive or what have you, you're providing a very strong service on this planet of healing in that alone. And anything else that you bring to the table, it's enough. You're already enough. So I feel like, we do the spiritual path. or we do the spiritual path. We're on the spiritual path. I know for me, it just started to get. I was finding myself in a lot of situations of where I was just doing shamanic work for other people, and a lot of it did come naturally, and it kind of bugged me out because I was like, how do I know how to do this or how do I know how to do that? I think I needed to see that so I could accept the fact that I have done this before, and it's an awakening process. Maybe it's to help me slow my roll and calm down. About constantly, going hard on the know thyself journey, really being able to take a pace and live instead of constantly feeling like I had to live for others, because it gets exhausting after a while. And there doesn't have to be any guilt or shame in admitting that, because we're also supposed to live for ourselves, without feeling guilty or feeling, even if it does piss other people off who were used to you being the rock or used to you being the voice of reason, or if the case may be, people will follow the resonance and the tone that you set. When you finally decide for yourself what it is you're seeking, and you decide that you are good enough to interface with it, you're good enough to have and enjoy what you're seeking, and you don't have to carry everybody else's baggage on your back or try to find some way of, did I mess up? Did I do something wrong here? Did I say something wrong? Did I, you know what I'm saying? Did I move this cup out of place? We don't have to constantly feel like we're in a state of walking on eggshells to feel valid or acceptable. And I think that's the larger point for empaths, earth angel types, and that sort of thing. And on a path where, the angelics and your ancestors and spirit guides and those around you will tell you, until, you know what I'm saying, the cows come home, so to speak, like how special you are and how worthy you are and what a difference you make. But if you're not getting that same level of approval from people who are dealing with a very human level of consciousness, perhaps just consider that it doesn't need to come from them. It doesn't need to come from them. They may not be at a capacity where they can do that. They may be very barricaded behind their own wall or behind a shield or what have you, and they're so used to kind of negative toxicity or whatever that they interpret that that's what life is, and that's what socialism is, socializing is, and that's what how you interact, so that you don't, get played or put in a vulnerable place. And people walk their spiritual paths, their life paths at their own pace. So if finding oneself in a position where largely you're dealing with folks who don't give you that approval that some part of you seems to be seeking, I would really encourage, take some time with spirit to ask for help in maybe getting off your own case and releasing the toxicity that you might have been collecting from other people who didn't know how to release it. Because a lot of empaths and earth angel types, like, we've carried, until you learn how to release, you kind of carry that stuff. And then there's the, building it, trying to kind of shield up or build a wall or whatever, so that you have time to process everything that belonged to someone else that ended up on you. And it's like, nah, you could just release it. You could just release it. You could get in touch with her. You could release it. It's not for you to carry. It wasn't yours to begin with. You came to help. You didn't come to end up with a broken back behind, kind of other folks, the toxicity that they were in, that, you ended up attracting into your aura or what have you, because you want to help and you don't want people to, be in too much of a pain or burden cycle. So I feel like if you, any of y'all that this can be helpful to, if you can get into that, I allow my connection to be of harmonious resonance. If you can get into that mind state, perhaps use that affirmation and allow for the reactions of your inner child. Allow for the reactions of yourself, even if it's like a kind of a fear thing at first, like not knowing what to expect from harmony, because maybe it feels so foreign to deal with harmony. But if you allow yourself and you give yourself the patience to be vulnerable And even if it has to be little by little, less and less closed up and barricading yourself away from life experience, or barricading yourself into a role so that life experience can seem tolerable according to past definitions and frames of reference. Little by little, the desire to see what's out there, so to speak, in terms of play in life, in terms of getting in, your inner child can have a sense of freedom and flight and exploration and curiosity. And it's okay. It's kind of how would I put that? Like, it's divinely approved, divinely smiled upon. In fact, the more you can give yourself that permission, and the more it becomes a habit, the easier it's going to get. And the jobs that align with you, the places of residence that align with you, of course, any kind of relationship from any role or whatever, can become healthier because you're showing up for harmony. You're in a state of allowance, but you've stated you allow the harmony. So those who are in a state of disharmony, I don't know that they would feel so comfortable coming into your field of resonance the more you build a state of harmony, or when they do come into your field of resonance, they would, especially if they're kind of in a follower mentality and they've been toxically oriented because of they're following whatever trend or they're following whatever patterns. Could be social, just peer groups, generational, just the workplace environment or atmosphere, or a company's track record, and so on and so forth. But you being in that state of harmonious resonance and having that be where your aura is at, you can enjoy life all the time. And you can enjoy it with natural cycles. You can have a harmonious rest at night. You can have a harmonious rise in the morning to the best of your ability. But it gets easier the more you can align with what feels good, which for me has been a lot of work. But the more I've experienced it, I'm like, yo, like, why was I constantly, like, as if my life could just be put on hold, overextending myself? And obviously it was conditioning and me not feeling emotionally supported as a child, and all of those things that foundationally can create a certain type of orientation. But at some point you got to have some accountability and service to your own self when you feel like your health is being dragged down, or the energies are too heavy and they're not yours, and you have to let them go, whether a person or people are pissed off or not. Because it's a matter at that point of, like, okay, if I'm starting to feel an anxiousness, like this needs to come up off me, or I'm starting to get irritated, then it's time for it to come up off me. And there are ways to get there that are in harmonious alignment, as it were, with the spiritual laws, where you are setting your own vibration, and you are choosing the level of thought frequency you'll engage in. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to do a 15-minute meditation every morning to do it. You could just get into that vibe and just declare it, because the power of speech is, like, so powerful. And the more you become accustomed to saying this to yourself, the more those thoughts are in that alignment start to become a thing you do. The same way the kind of the negative or toxic type thoughts, conditions, patterns, that sort of thing, became, a thing you would acclimate towards. And it might just be an easier way. It might just be an easier way in times where it just seems like there's so many demands on one's sense of being in time and availability, amidst seeking to thrive, because we're beyond survival. There's no true need for us to have to be in a survival mind state with all the anxiousness and panic, fear, flight, that could come along with that at certain portions of such an experience. But we can thrive and really get the most out of life and really enjoy life and provide that example of high vibrationality, higher resonance, harmony and accord with the planet and with the our sisters and brothers on the planet who are all having different experiences, coming from different orientations of thought, culture, experience. We all have something to learn from one another, when it lines up harmoniously. And sometimes it might just be you need that personal harmony with self, and you might just need to release, and that's peace too. Be harmonious with you. Be harmonious with the part of yourself that's releasing an old role. You know, because the blame game is beaten. You know, it's done. You can't. I don't feel like you can really get that much out of the blame game anymore these days. Now it's like, what is the response? How am I responding to whatever is showing up in my path or in the societal path? How do I respond rather than react? What do I think about this? How does this resonate with me? And that is all that matters. You know what I'm saying? That's all that matters. Because you're the one living your life. And those that you are meant to connect with, interface with, will be in accordance, as it always has been, with what you allow. And that's very empowering. And sometimes that could, and it might even seem like big, but it doesn't have to go to self-blame, and it doesn't have to go to blame of others, because we're all dealing with experiences and how to come out of pain and how to connect with this or that, but properly, and not repeat old cycles and whatnot. But like, we can cut through all that, and we can see, you know, what it is we're, you know, kind of meant to deal with next, and get to know ourselves in the process without so much self-judgment or social judgment of others. All right, y'all. I'm going to pull a quick card from the Essence Oracle. Ancient Power Mysteries. Hear the rattle of Isis playing. I feel like vibration is a big deal right now. And if you're feeling really heavy energies coming around your aura, you can, work with binaurals. If you have singing bowls, you can work with that. You can hum, you can do om. You can get into that frequency to utilize sound to break up any areas of stagnancy or anything that may seem like it's just a little heavier on the air trying to crowd around you. And that will be of great use. I think affirmations can be helpful. I think more than that, speaking the truth of your heart is what's coming through spirit, through the card. Speaking the truth of your heart, it dispels doubts, is what spirit is saying. And it clears the air so that you can breathe the air more freely. And now it's not coming in words. I guess maybe I'm meant to feel this part. Just know that everything's okay. Like, as you allow it to be, spirit is now saying. As you allow it to be, everything's okay. Like, nothing can siphon your energy without permission. Give permission for love to come to you and infuse your life with a higher awareness of your worth. And that is it. That is direct from spirit. I hope that this was helpful to y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in, and peace and blessings on your ascension journey.